I don't think Aemeath is going to save Chisa. Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. I've been seeing some people say that Aemeath is going to save Chisa, and I have two things to say to that. First of all, the official livestream did not show anything off in regards to negative statuses, so we don't even know if she does anything with negative statuses. As far as we're concerned, she is probably going to synergize with the Toon Break units, and if she does end up being confirmed to have negative status later on by Kuro Games themselves, that's great. But even if that is the case, and even if Kuro Games does confirm something along those lines, I don't think that she is going to save Chisa for a couple of reasons. First of all, Chisa is simply not this huge point of value in a negative status team. She is good in negative status teams, but she is basically never going to be the thing that carries them. At best, I can see it being a Cardathea situation where she is able to spare the unit from needing a specific second slot teammate. I do believe that if Aemeath has anything to do with negative statuses, which there is basically nothing in-game or officially confirmed by Kuro that suggests that at the minute, Chisa is not going to be suddenly some meta character. Because unfortunately, there is no such thing as a negative status character that does not have an applicant. There has to be some form of negative status application in order for the negative status DPS to fully leverage their kit, and I believe that if Aemeath has anything to do with negative statuses, that is probably going to be the case. Chisa right now is able to help Cardathea work without having Shakona in the team, but that's about it. She helps Cardathea work. Simply that. Underlined. She helps her function, and there is basically nothing more than that. Shakonaless Cardathea is not some super strong team. It is far from Cardathea's max potential performance, as opposed to if you just had Shakona instead. It is so much better to have Shakona instead, actually. Being able to use that team is more so a nice bonus if you weren't able to get Shakona, but you went for Chisa because you liked the character or something along those lines. And mind you, a lot of Chisa's value is tied to her signature weapon, so if you don't even have her sig, then the team ends up being even weaker. And then Chisa just isn't even all that good in Zani teams. She's fine, she's gonna work there, but because Zani herself doesn't apply any negative status, she's not able to benefit from Chisa's signature, which once again is a large point of her supportive value. So, if Aemeath ends up being confirmed to have anything to do with negative statuses, I just don't think that Chisa is suddenly going to become as meta as people think she is going to become. She might become an okay team, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't even that much better than some 1.0 DPS teams, because ultimately, negative status characters without their applicant just aren't good. And you know what, I could be a complete clown, maybe she does have something to do with negative status, and if she does, that's great, but Kuro's livestream did not imply that whatsoever. And if she does end up being confirmed to be a negative status character down the line, we're just gonna have to wait for the second slot that is going to be good for that particular negative status. Chisa is going to be good, probably, because I imagine that all future negative status characters are going to be designed with her in mind, but I don't think she's going to be single-handedly carrying this or anything like that. It's probably going to be similar to when Phoebe released. When Phoebe launched, she had a supportive Spectral Frazzle mode, but no character that would be able to use it. Phoebe was only able to make full use out of her potential when Zani released. Before then, she just kind of didn't really do anything, and of course, Spectral Rover released in 2.0 with no other character to synergize with. It's not really unlike Kuro to release characters that have some kind of aspect of their kit that doesn't really work until later on, so that could end up being the case, but as it currently stands, I don't think it is worth talking about negative status Aemeath until it is officially confirmed that negative status Aemeath is actually a thing. As it currently stands, literally nothing in-game suggests that, and literally nothing from Kuro themselves suggests that, and if it does end up being confirmed, I somehow doubt that Chisa's gonna be the make or break of that team. Now, I'm sure she is going to be good, like I said, but ultimately, Chisa's just a character that was released in an awkward position, and I think she is basically always going to be on the slightly more niche side. The thing is, if you don't even get her signature weapon, she's not even all that great in negative status teams. She's good there, obviously, but you're not making the most out of her potential. You really do want that sig if you want to see some value out of her, and the amount of astrites she costs in relation to the value she provides, it just kind of isn't worth it. She is definitely a popular character, and I'm sure Kuro Games is aware of this. They are probably going to try and give her more teams in the future, but I wouldn't expect her to be that good yet, Now, I will point something out in favor of people's argument. She is rerunning alongside Aemeath, and even though Kuro Games themselves have not officially confirmed anything, that is interesting because Kuro usually tends to run supports when they are at their most relevant. And it's not like Chisa ran a long time ago, she literally released in 2.8 and we are entering 3.1. That is basically no time waiting for a rerun, and we know that Kuro Games only really does that when there is some sort of synergy with the releasing unit. So maybe there is actually something there and I could be wrong. But I just don't want to talk about the prospect of a Chisa-Aemeath synergy until Kuro themselves confirms that Aemeath does have something to do with negative status, because I like to go off of what is officially confirmed by them. And as it stands, nothing suggests that. And even if it were to be the case, a second slot teammate is going to be the make or break, not Chisa. Now, if you did pull for Chisa, I'll say this. A big part of her value is two things. One, she can free up other third slot teammates for you, though because we have Mornier now, aka we technically have a character that is able to match up to Shorekeeper's level of pull value. Not quite there, but close, even at S0R0. So having that quality isn't really as good as it used to be. And second of all, Chisa's a character that's able to work in every negative status team, and I believe that going forward, no matter what negative status team is made, Chisa is gonna work there. She traded having a substantial power budget for being able to work with a majority of negative status characters. And I'd say that if you really like the archetype, then yeah, sure, Chisa's not a bad investment whatsoever. But Chisa's own power level isn't really anything to write home about, so I don't think that she is going to be some kind of make or break for a future negative status unit, if Aemeath even ends up having anything to do with that. She's just kind of in a position where it's really hard to make her a character where, oh my goodness, if you don't have her, then this character is just not going to perform as well. And to be honest, I don't think Kuro Games really wants to do that. I feel like they have to be somewhat aware of how negative status was handled. And they have to be somewhat aware of the fact that negative status characters are just so expensive to invest into compared to some other characters that can do more damage a much cheaper investment. It is way more worthwhile to invest into an Augusta as opposed to getting a Zani and Phoebe on rerun, for instance. So not only are negative status teams teams that are basically only worth investing into if you get the characters on release, but I just don't think Chisa is ever gonna be the character that makes or breaks a negative status unit. It's just not gonna happen. I understand that people really want her to be meta, people really want her to be good because she is popular. People love Chisa, people love her animations, she is generally a very beloved Wuthering Waves character. This I understand, but I cannot pretend like she's a good character. If anything, I was a little bit kinder to her whenever she was coming out saying, yes, I do believe there is some future potential here. But to be honest, as time has passed and we've gotten freaking Mornier, I don't know. I feel like she can be good for DPM, that new endgame mode. Yes, that is definitely a nice place where you can use her if you're really insistent on score maxing and trying to spread out your first slot teammates more. Though I will say, Chisa only has one charge in that game mode, so you can only use her for one negative status team, and the 6 charges you have across Verena, Shorekeeper, and Mornier are more than enough to help you cover the entire endgame and help you clear the whole thing. But I will add this. Let's say Aemeath does have negative status. Let's say that Kuro does actually confirm, yes, this character actually has something to do with that, which, to me, they have said nothing about it, so it doesn't exist yet. It is not confirmed, and I am just not going to say that these characters have synergy until Kuro themselves says, yes, Aemeath has something to do with negative status. For now, I just don't believe it until it is actually officiated. But let's say, okay, she does. In that case, I don't think that Aemeath is gonna save Chisa yet. If she does do negative status, we're just gonna have to wait for whatever second slot teammate is going to provide her the buffs that she needs in order to reach her top potential in a negative status team, and then Chisa is gonna be good. She's not gonna make or break the team, but it will at least give her a meta use case, which is what a lot of people have been waiting for. And freeing up the Toon Break core, considering how universally broken it is, that is actually a valuable thing to do. So it will actually boost up her pull value. It's not going to suddenly make her some generational must pull, but it is going to at least do some help. But as it currently stands, Toon Break Duo released in 3.0, I believe Kuro Games is looking to capitalize on that in particular, and I would be surprised if the character did actually end up being negative status, because As it currently stands, it doesn't really seem like she has anything to do with it, but if she does, I don't think Chisa is suddenly going to become some really meta character. I know people love Chisa, people really want this to be the case, but I just cannot see it happening for the foreseeable future. And when it does happen, oh yes, that will be an amazing day, but I just don't think it's anytime soon. And to be honest, I don't ever think Chisa is ever going to be some extremely meta amazing character. As time has passed, she just doesn't really seem to be that good, and I know that people want some kind of return on their investment, because while people do love the character, and that is a big reason as to why so many people pulled for her, it is nice to know that the character you pulled is good. And I will say Chisa is good, but at least for this upcoming rerun, I will make a more detailed video on Chisa and her pros and cons and such, but I will just briefly say here now, I honestly wouldn't go for her unless you're really big on negative status. She just doesn't seem to be a character that is going to be worth investing into in the long run, and unless you just really like her design and aesthetic, I can't see her being some really strong, good character going into the future. I thought that might be the case, but it is looking a little bit grim. We're just gonna have to wait for the next complete negative status team in order for us to see how important Chisa actually is to that team, and maybe she does actually end up being substantially better than the other third slot teammates, because I can't rule that out. I'm more so just trying to address people saying that Chisa might be good for Aemeath, because first of all, we need to wait for official confirmation. As it stands, we don't know. And second of all, even if that does end up being the case, I do doubt that Chisa is going to be the thing that makes that a good team. It is very likely that it's just not going to be usable until we eventually get a second slot teammate that is able to help it. Hopefully this video is able to tell you why I don't think Aemeath is going to save Chisa. This has been Juice, signing out, and maybe one day she'll be meta.